Welcome to Riftforge Studio. Today we're going to be talking about sponge chipping. This is one of those techniques that is actually very easy to do, but if you don't get it right, it looks a little bit of a mess. So hopefully this is going to explain to you a couple of ways or a couple of colours you can use to create that three-dimensional effect of damage. I'm going to cover off using a light version of the main colour, dark brown in this case, because it dovetails nicely with the yellow and to create that kind of old, very dark rusted metal. And then we'll use a little bit of silver, I think GW Ironbreaker in this case. So we use our sponges there, and we just dip them in a little bit of paint, dab a little bit off on some kitchen roll, and then we start chipping away. Now it's important to use a little bit of pressure here with your sponge, but not lots of pressure. There's a sweet spot which really you only get through a little bit of practice. But if you chip too hard, you just make a really horrible mess. If you're going to do one or the other, then I would chip lighter, because you can always add a little bit more, but it's hard to take anything away. So that's our basic browns. Hopefully you can see the effect there, just slowly starting to take shape. I'm going to move on now to the yellow. Now this is a highlight colour I used in painting the door, which is a Vallejo model colour ice yellow. I think I may have added a tiny drop of Avalon Sunset into this because it's quite a thin paint. Apologies for just chipping that off the camera. It's the same as the brown, so you'll see the result in a second. Again, we're just selling the three-dimensional effect here. So I'm going to add some more Rhinox hide now, just again to help with, you want to create layers of damage here. This is what really sells the effect. Too many times I've seen sponge chipping done where someone's got a metallic colour on their sponge and they've just gone blah 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 with the sponge, and it just, if every surface is covered in it all, it just doesn't look realistic. So you need variety, but you need consistency as well, which I know sounds like a bit of a paradox there. It does make sense once you start doing it. But a little bit more Rhinox hide there alongside the yellow. The yellow being sort of the bare base paint, if you like, the brown instead forming the rusted metals, and now we're going to attack with some GW Ironbreaker. This represents the chips that have cut through everything and gone right down to the bare metal. Important to try and chip inside the chips for the most part anyway. Chip inside the chips you've already made, and then that creates that three-dimensional illusion. Obviously you can do chips outside as well, but I would say if you're going to use this kind of method, then try and keep inside the original chips. I think I added a little extra one just on the door there, there you go, just to represent a piece of paint that's been taken straight off by something. Now obviously it's nice that the edges of the door are all chipped up and damaged, but everything in the middle looks nice and pristine. So I'm now going to add some brown chipping with the Rhinox hide through the transfer and on to the flatter areas of the door. I'd always say try and concentrate on corners and areas that are naturally going to accumulate damage, but obviously, you know, the middle of the door is not immune to it, so it does need some itself. I've gone straight for the Rhinox hide for this, and in the next video I'll do some scratching and things and show you how we marry those together. It's important to use different parts of the sponge so we don't get it too uniform. The last thing you need is 7 or 8 identical sponge patterns, and that won't help with the realism. I've just focused a little bit more on the bottom of the door there, where things are going to come up out of the ground and crash into the base of the door. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the sponge chipping. As I say, we'll come back and do a video now about scratches, and then later I'll do one for oils and streaking and that sort of thing, just to show you all these techniques that are not really a black art, it's just knowing what to do and what order to apply it. So that's it for today, and thanks very much for watching.